We want a little bit, let's just dim the lights here a little bit. Okay, so let's just do a quick run through on Topo surfaces. I'm going to need some geometry in place here, just so I've got some reference point. And what I'm going to do is start off like we always have with an architectural template. I'm not going to worry about anything too elaborate, just a basic, in this case maybe I'll do a two-story building just so we can see a little bit more variation in the Topo surface. That might make the point a little bit more significantly here. So what I'm going to do is just go to level 1, and I'm going to click on the wall tool, and usually I would just get this or set this up to level 2, but in this case, just because we want a little bit of extra height, I'm just going to leave it at 8,000. So normally you wouldn't do that. Normally you would try to keep those oriented towards the levels, but I'll just quickly generate that boxy building there, and in 3D view, of course, it's just going to look like that. And now to create a Topo surface, which would just kind of slice that right in the middle, I'll say in about that range. I'm going to go to the site, floor plan view. This is the one that gives me a broader range. Remember, a floor plan view is a horizontal section. This one has just the broadest range possible. So I'm going to use that for generating a Topo surface. If I was in another floor plan view, it would probably give me a warning and tell me that the site view is better. So I'm in site view. I'm going to go to the massing and site tab, and I'm going to click on Topo surface. Remember that when you do this, that the Topo surface tool doesn't snap to anything. It doesn't have those same kind of default orthogonal orientations that you get with walls and everything else. So if you want to have something to click to, you should create some two-dimensional data in here. So I'm going to actually go to the Annotate tab and use Detail Line. And again, I'm just doing this so that I've got something that I can snap to. I'll delete these lines after the fact. But let's say I just create that fairly randomly generated box here. It's just two-dimensional, and it's just in this view. So I'm going to now click on the Massing and Site tab. I'll click on the Topo surface tool. And the default state of this tool is that it's going to place points. And now all I have to do is just make clicks. I'm going to make 4 of them at each of the corner points of this 2D rectangle. As soon as I make the third one, you'll see that it's got enough data to create a basic polygon. So I'll see that diagonal stretch across. Now when I make a 4th point, it's going to complete the rectangle. And now I could just click on the green check mark there, and I'd be done a really basic Topo surface. So there you can see just a flat plane. It has no depth. It's not a three-dimensional object. It's not a solid. It's a surface. And if I just give my screen here a little bit more detail, you'll see that it assigns a really basic material to it, kind of like an earth material. So we'll get to that in a minute as well. But obviously, in most cases, I'm not going to have a dead flat Saskatchewan-like Topo surface here. All right, Alberta has flat surfaces too, yeah. I'll click on that, and I'm going to edit the surface. Now, when I go into edit surface mode here, I have 4 points. There's nothing else in this particular project at the moment that I could select on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on these back 2 points, but don't be afraid about selecting something accidentally. You can see here that when I make this selection box, all I'm getting is those 4 points. I'm not getting the walls or anything else in here. So you can kind of safely just pick the whole batch of points if you like. It might just be that you want to take this from level 0 to somewhere just below where the main floor would be, because chances are when you created your project, your floor on level 1 is also at 0. So in this case, you'd actually see the Topo surface and the floor kind of flickering because they're occupying the same space, so you get kind of overlapping surfaces. So it might be that you just want to take that below level 1. In this case, I would just enter a value here, a negative value, negative 150 in this case. It's going to take it down about 6 inches below. So when I do that and click the green check mark, now you'll be able to see that it just got dropped down. Now you can see a little bit of a gap there. So it's actually about 6 inches or 150 millimeters below that set of walls. So if you need some variation beyond that, just click on the Topo surface again and click Edit Surface, and this time I'm just going to select the back 2 points, and you can see that it records their elevation there, negative 150. And if I change this to something like, let's say 5,000, so it's going to be 5 meters above, now there you can see what the impact of that is. So it kind of buries the building. And we've got a lot of dirt in the house at the moment there. I'll show you how to clean that up before Mom gets home. And now I click the green check mark. So there's my topo surface. It might be that all you need to do for your particular assignment is just that amount of slope. If you've got some sort of one of the Brian McKay Lines projects or something like that, you might just need to do that much. And just a quick run through on the camera then. If you click on view in one of these plan views and go to camera, that might be all I need to do. So there's your topo surface. If you need to add more to it than that, I'm going to go to a default 3D view here, and if it needs more, it needs to look a little more organic, and that kind of flat ramp look isn't enough, you could just click on the surface again, click on Edit Surface, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this tool here, which is Place Point. And as I place points on this topo surface, they're all going to be at 0. So you can see here how the contour lines are adapting. So those lines that you're seeing in between the top line and the bottom line that we've generated before, these are contour lines, and you can actually set the contour interval if you don't like how they're spaced. But again, if I click the green check mark and go back to a 3D view, now you can see it adjusts, and what I've done here is I've created just a bit of a flat spot around the building. If you need more variation than that, then of course you could edit the surface again and just keep using the Place Point tool, and maybe you need some points to actually be a little higher than the 5 meters that we set earlier. So create the points initially like this, and then use your Modify tool to select each of them, and these will all be at 0. So when I look here in the upper left, I can see they're all set to an elevation of 0. Now I could just change these to maybe something higher than the 5 meters, so let's go for 7,500. And I'll finish it off and go to a 3D view. And now you can see the impact that's had. So I've just created a high spot towards the middle. It's higher than the edges, as you can see, 2.5 meters above there. So the last thing I'm going to do is just remove the site from the inside here. This is a tool I haven't showed you yet. I'll go to the site view again, and on the same tab, Masking and Site, in the Model Site panel, there's a tool called Building Pad. And what this does is it essentially just kind of drops the topo surface down to a lower level all around the building. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to put this on the outside of the walls. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool and just drag on the outside points of the walls. Click the green check mark, and then I'll just show you in a 3D view. So now we've cleaned things up a little bit. You could actually do a section view, and you wouldn't see that soil or that topo surface right between the walls.